Hi everyone, this is Christina from Pretty and Pink Supply, and today I'm going to show you how to do a hand-sewn head wrap so that way you end up with a nice back and not the big knot on the back. Some people don't like the big knot and they don't like to do the hand-tied one. This way is super easy, but you do have to know how to sew, so you can either use just thread and a needle or you can use your sewing machine. I'm going to just use thread and a needle today. That way it'll be easy for anyone to do if they don't have a sewing machine. All right, let's get started. Okay, to start, you're gonna need some bullet stretch fabric. So I'm just using a strip that we sell in the shop. It's a 5-inch cut by 60-inch, and I'm just gonna cut it down to the measurements I need. So I'm going to start off by making a newborn size head wrap. So what you do first is you're gonna cut down the part that goes around the head, so the part for the head wrap. So a newborn size is typically 12-inch. If you have other sizing that you use, you can do that as well, because that's not gonna affect the bow part. So you're just gonna cut down to exactly what you need. So this is for my newborn size, 12-inch, and then we're gonna flip it the outside facing in, and we're just gonna need a needle and thread, and you are going to stitch it all the way across. And I usually do about 1/4 of an inch down. So this way it doesn't take away too much from my actual measurements. And you just want to keep this nice and flat. You don't want it scrunched up or anything. We're gonna do that after. Once we get this all sewn, we'll fold it in and kind of have our bow part sit on top of it. I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then I'll put down all the measurements that I'm using in the description below, so that way you guys have that and you can have consistent sizing every time you do them. So once you get to the end, you just want to make sure that you close up your stitch. I always just knot mine. Okay, so we're just going to cut that thread off and we're going to flip it. So this is my headband part. This is the part that's going to go around the head. So we're just gonna set this over here for now. And next we're going to do our bow. So for the bow, you're gonna need an 18-inch strip. Let me actually cut it this way. So I'm just gonna trim off a little bit of my extra. This strip was already cut, so it wasn't quite 60 inches, but if you purchase them on the website, they are 60 inches each. All right, once it is cut down, you want to do about 5-inch folds, okay? So you just wanna measure and make sure they're roughly about 5-inch. You can do a little less if you wanted a smaller bow. So I have a 5-inch fold right here, and I'm just gonna fold it over twice. So that way I have 3 layers of fabric. Okay, then with this excess, this is normally the part that we use to tie around our, like if you're doing a hand-tied bow or head wrap, but we don't need that. So we're gonna cut this part off and we are going to use this for our center. So we're just gonna set this aside right now. And next, let me make sure my needle is ready. Let me tie a little knot at the end really quick, because we are going to stitch our bow together too. All right. So you want to make sure the part with the flap is facing in the back, okay? And we are going to make sure all this is laying flat, and we're just going to pinch it together to get a nice center. And we're going to grab our needle and thread. Let's see if I can grab this. And you're just going to put your needle right through the pinches that you just made. And let me grab that. And then we're just gonna wrap it around a few times to secure it. And then we're gonna close it up so we have a nice secure bow that doesn't come undone. And I normally just knot it closed, okay? All right, trim that off. And you just kind of want to adjust your bow slightly, get it nice and centered the way you want it. And now my flap is on the back. You guys can see this little flap. That's my back side, this is my front side, okay? All right. Next up, we're gonna take our headband part and we're going to fold just slightly. So about 1/2 inch, you're gonna fold it in, then you're going to pinch this part and fold it over, and then this part is going to fold down. So you kind of have something that looks like this, okay? And we're just gonna put a couple stitches through it. We're gonna go through the bottom where our fold is at, so it kind of holds everything together and nothing's moving around. And I'm just gonna do a couple stitches. And then what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna grab my bow and I'm gonna set it right on top just like that, because we want our bow to sit up nice and straight when it's on the baby's head, okay? We don't want it like flat like this, because that's how it's gonna show up on their head. So we want it sitting nice and straight, and you're going to go right through the center of the bottom part, and we're just gonna go straight up, and there's a lot of layers here, so you just gotta kind of push it through. Here, we'll push it through here first and make it a little bit easier, and then we're gonna go through here. I don't want it through that part. There we go. And got a little bit of thread there. All right, so now we want to make sure it's lined up with where we stitch. So make sure everything lines up nice and straight, and we're just going to gently tug, and we are going to use the thread and we're going to wrap it around a few times just so it's nice and tight on there and it's not going anywhere, and then we'll stitch through one more time. Where's my thread? There we go. All right, and you see how it's like sitting nice and straight. All right, once I get around, so I think I went around like 2 or 3 times, then when I get to the bottom, I'm just going to do a nice little stitch right here. And we're just gonna close that up. This is gonna give you a nice flat back, and there won't be like any bulkiness or anything like that. It'll just sit really nice. All right. Lastly, we're gonna take our little strip that we cut off in the beginning, and we are just going to roll it in. And this is kind of preference. If you want like a thicker center or a thinner center, you just kind of roll it to whatever you prefer. I kind of like mine a little bit smaller. And what I'm gonna do first is I'm going to pull it right through here, and I'm going to glue this part right to the back. Just gotta make sure you're, put a little bit of glue in there. All right. And then I'm gonna, when I wrap this part around, it's gonna get glued about right here. You can also sew that, you don't have to glue it, but you will see in a second. So let me make sure this is still wrapped nicely. And you just kind of want to pull this part tight once it's glued on. You want to give it a tight pull because it's kind of pulling everything together. Okay. Now I'm going to trim this part down because I don't need all of that extra fabric anymore. And we are just going to glue this down right here. So I just put a little glue in between the layers of the fabric just so it all stays nice and flat. And you just want to hold it there for maybe 10-15 seconds until it cools. And we got ourselves a cute little head wrap. That's it. You have a nice clean bow, no bulky back, nice flat bottom part that sits on the baby's head, and your bow sits nice and straight. And it was super simple to do, and you'll get consistent sizing. So be sure to check the description below, and I will put all the different sizes that you'll need to make these. And I think that's everything. If you don't already like and subscribe to our channel, be sure to do that. And everything will be linked for you guys in the description below. Thanks so much.